Okay, I have a question for you guys. Let's say there is a product, a game out there, and it costs $70, right? And the performance is not that great. It's pretty glitchy. In fact, there are times where you will fall through the map and the story is kind of lackluster and predictable. And $70. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think you'd rate that game? I'll give you some time. Okay, time's up. Did you rate it a 9 out of 10? Because that's what one reviewer did for IGN. They talked about the Hogwarts Legacy game, and they said how the game is full of these glitches, and literally, like I will show you guys in a minute, it says it's full of these glitches, and literally you will fall through the map. This happened once or twice for them. Falling through the map. Enemy variety, kind of poor, not that great, right? So all these things gives it a 9 out of 10. A 9 out of 10. And just so you guys don't think I'm exaggerating, here's the part of the review. Okay, well, first and foremost, so it says, right in line with most Harry Potter tales before it, Legacy's plot has more holes than a fishnet stocking, and it sort of just expects you to accept it. It's already telling you the story's plot isn't that great. There's a bunch of holes in it. Like your character is a 5th year and just transfers to Hogwarts for no reason. And then it goes on to say that for some also unexplained reason, you have super duper magical abilities that no one else has, and you can just do that, and they don't explain it. So that's how they start off the review. Like, that's how it starts off. And then of course you can read the entire review yourself, and then he talks about like just skimming it. He talks about like how after being introduced to all these characters he didn't care about, he started to be invested with like the characters, right? Like there's the NPCs you can interact with. Funnily enough, didn't mention that. I don't think they mentioned the transgendered NPC here, but they're talking about befriending your classmates. And they talk about concerning J.K. Rowling, the whole like separating art from the artist, which honestly is not what you're doing here, but they have that disclaimer. Again, you can read it on your own. I'm not really interested in reading that part. I'm just kind of confused as to this whole thing, because he talks about, you know, again, how much he likes the game. He found himself look. Unexpectedly, I found myself looking forward to hanging out with my professors, whether it was my main man, Professor Fig, who serves as something both of a mentor and a sidekick, or the wisecracking charms Professor Ronan, right? So who made me love him mostly by making fun of me. So he says these characters are indispensable pieces of the school. So he likes the characters, he likes the game. It's very clear he likes the game. Give it a 9 out of 10. But then we get to the performance stuff, right? But actually, this part here, even better though is the world itself, which is just packed with nearly everything I wanted in a Harry Potter game. You'll find yourself exploring Hogwarts stone-cobbled halls and secret passageways, flying around the Forbidden Forest on a broomstick, and exploring dark caves lit only by the glow of your Lumos spell, sorry. Developers Avalanche have so brilliantly captured look and feel of the Wizarding World that I was amazed at just being there, no matter what trivial errand they had me wrapped up in. So, okay, make a note of that. Here we go. The immersion can occasionally be broken by Legacy's dicey performance, though, which suffered from just about every issue that makes the IGN's performance review team cry. So every issue, including frame rate inconsistency, weird issues with lighting switching from light too dark to too bright, aggressive popping while moving around the map quickly, and more. There's even a weird thing where the door into Hogwarts had a brief loading screen. It's understandable since there's so much packed into this beast of invention, but the PS5's promises of the death of loading screens haven't quite been lived up here, since it's clearly struggling to keep up with the spellcraft and whimsy of the Wizarding World. Then it goes on to say, beyond the performance issues, Legacy is also a fairly glitchy adventure in general. You'll probably fall through the map a time or two, or see a character or object get caught in an environment, or maybe even have the person you're talking to just up and walk away from you in the middle of the conversation, leaving you to speak with an empty spot they were standing in for about 2 minutes. I didn't encounter anything game breaking. I feel like falling through a map, whatever. Game breaking are so common that you'll likely curse his name, but things like this do have enough to be an irritation. Then he goes on and talks about how he likes the combat. You know, he thought it was gonna be dog shit, but it turns out it's right. He was wrong. I can admit I'm wrong. The combat fantastic, challenging, utterly captivating. He says, Kieran says he says challenging. Then he writes, while the combat system never stops entertaining, the creatures you fight soon run out of tricks up their sleeve. You'll see the same familiar faces a lot as you spend an enormous amount of your time fighting dark witches, spiders, and goblins. Every once in a while, they'll try out the same repeated troll enemy or nondescript magical suit of armor as well, but the enemy's legacy throws at you wear thin pretty quickly. And goes on to say it's a shame because, you know, the Harry Potter universe has some monsters and beasts, but they just show like the same 500 spiders in a row, which according to him was a baffling decision. And they kind of laments here about how like you can't equip a bunch of spells and you have to always constantly switch through, which is kind of cumbersome, and so much so that it is a challenge in its own right and not the kind that he relishes. And then this is just talking about the side quests, how there's no New Game Plus mode, but in its defense, a lot of games have not launched with New Game Plus mode. They'll probably add it in the patch later on. And yeah, that's pretty much it. He's talking about there's like 100 side quests. And then, again, you guys can read on or detail for yourselves. And he's talking about how here, you don't really get to create your own build, really, but you just get some buffs and resistances and what have you. But what really gets me here is this right here. In nearly every way, Hogwarts Legacy is the Harry Potter RPG I've always wanted to play. Not just the RPG I want to play, Harry Potter RPG, which is doing most of the heavy lifting. Its open world adventure captures all the excitement of Wizarding World with its memorable new characters, yada 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 yada. It kept me glued to my seats for control of dozens of hours. It's certainly weighed down by technical issues, a lackluster main story, and support and variety, but even those couldn't come close to breaking its enchanting spell for me. And he gives it, like I said, a 9. Now, I'm going to ask you all again. If I told you, now we're not talking about the merits of the game right now. I'm talking about just from the person who reviewed it and their perspective on it. If someone told you it is a game that is weighed down by technical issues, including falling through the fucking map, glitches, a lackluster main story, poor enemy variety, and it's $70. That's a 9 out of 10 game for you? Like, 9 out of 10 is almost perfection. It's considered amazing, right? You fall through the map, game's still amazing. We have killed games as both consumers and, you know, people who do reviews. We have killed games for less. But falling through a map is not a game-making thing. Multiple glitches to the point where you yourself say that your IGN performance team was crying because it had hit all the greatest hits, all the issues, all the performance issues, and it's a 9 out of 10. Honestly, it just sounds like what this person said. It's a Harry Potter RPG. It feels like it's just being compared to other Harry Potter RPGs, and it's a 9 out of 10. And it makes no sense to me how that's a 9 out of 10, right? Because Elden Ring, the game everyone loved, is a 10 out of 10. And there is no, I don't think there was a time in Elden Ring where I like was falling through maps or having like major glitches and stuff. I mean, even here's the Elden Ring review here. Granted, this is not the same reviewer, but I'm just saying like there has to be some sort of consistency within the IGN ecosystem, right? So here is the Elden Ring review. And not all of it, just talking about from the performance standpoint. It's saying Elden Ring pushes some improvements in model quality, scene density, lighting effects, and more competitive from the previous game. From technical's perspective, it's showing up there at the best that's the team's ever made, even if the frame rate can never reliably hit 60 frames per second. It sets that for itself. Okay, that's fine. Basically it's saying it's not difficult to get concern, and while it's not as smooth as it should be by modern statute per Dark Souls back in the days, again, so they're comparing it to previous FromSofts. But this is a 10 out of 10 game. So, and they even mentioned the frame rate issue, 10 out of 10 game, right? But you're falling through the map of a game and it only brings it down to a 9? Like, maybe I don't understand how reviews work, and that could be literally on me. I just maybe don't understand it. But if I'm hearing this is a 10 out of 10 game and this game was like a step below it, that's still an amazing game. I don't think amazing games have you falling through the map. I don't think amazing games would be described as having a lackluster story or having poor enemy variety or having, glaring technical issues, like, or the plot holes in this. Like, I don't think a 9 out of 10 game has that. I'm just reminded of that video game donkey video where he was talking about reviewers. I feel like he was spitting, because get no shade to this reviewer, but it's I can't get over the fact that you're basically saying this game's performance sucks, and it hit every issue imaginable that your team could run into, and you can fall through the map. And this is a $7 game, but because it's what, Harry Potter, it gets a 9 out of 10. If it was like a 7 out of 10, 8.5, or that makes sense, right? You knock it down from performance issues. Like that's what we normally do. But to be like it's almost as good as Elden Ring, that's wild to me. Like I feel like at this point these numbers are arbitrary. And again, maybe I'm biased, and I can accept that. Maybe I'm biased on this, but I feel like there is something to this. If I told you there was a game out there, brand new, $70 on the current consoles, that you fall through the map, characters just up and disappear, you guys would kill it. And that kind of sounds like Forspoken, right? But like Forspoken had none of those issues. You did not fall through the map. In fact, according to their review right here, if we look at their view right here, it says that they encountered little to no notable bug or technical issues by playing Forspoken on PlayStation 5 performance mode. It's worth knowing that we had not had a chance to play the PC version, but the delay combined with the head-to requirement that released last week do give me a little bit of pause. We're not for sure people perform, right? But we're comparing PS5 to PS5. Because the PS5 version of Hogwarts Legacy, you fall through the map. PS5 version of Forspoken, nothing. But Forspoken, 6. Hogwarts Legacy, you fall through the map. And they also say Forspoken has not that great enemy variety and a lackluster story. Fine. But I would say then this would have to be like a 7 or 8. To make this a 9 is like, again, Elden Ring, 10, masterpiece. 9. Forspoken, 6. Elden Ring, you don't fall through the map. Forspoken, you don't fall through the map. This game, you fall through the map. And it's a 9. Like, maybe I'm different, but like, if there was a game out there and that say you can fall through the map and all these random glitches happen and it's $70, you're gonna tell me it's a 9 out of 10? Side eye.